You are now listening to Get the Chip. Before we get into today's video, remember to hit that like button and subscribe to Get the Chip for new sports content every week. All right, man, let's jump on something else really quick. And we know we haven't seen Westbrook on Washington yet. We'll get a glimpse of it tomorrow when they lock horns against KD and the Nets. I'm looking very forward to that game. But looking at the way that John Wall and Boogie performed yesterday, they had a good game, man. Those dudes were balling.
Oh, yeah.
Do you think that Houston might have won the trade by moving Russ and getting these two dudes back the way that they're playing and the way that they're happy to be playing together, Wall and Boogie, former college teammates? Or do you think that Washington won that trade with Russ? I kind of know what I think you're going to say, even though we haven't seen Russ yet. But what do you think?
So, actually, it wasn't until I was watching the highlights again of the game, of the Houston game, that I actually had to change my view. And what I mean by that is, if Boogie is going to be Boogie and John Wall going to be John Wall, or just 90% of who they were with James Harden, that's going to be a problem.
Yeah, it might get ugly, man.
All the predictions that we talked about and had, you most of them you can throw out of the window because of Boogie, he was an unsolvable problem. John Wall basically has always kind of done what he wanted on the court, and then you put James Harden in there, like
man,
that's scary. And they retained a lot of their spot up guys and the shooters, as you know, as we saw with the game yesterday. So on paper, the Rockets are going to be a problem. The part that concerned me, and I can't think of a better word, so I was kind of like, I was sad, man, actually, was like, dang, James Harden is like kind of, it's seemingly turning his back towards this. I mean, no one knew like how Boogie would play. Of course, it was a preseason. No one knew how John Wall would be. But if they're going to be a semblance of themselves with James Harden, that's going to be scary. So when I saw him, you know, James wasn't playing, whatever he's trying to deal with, he's dealing with a trade or whatever and COVID stuff. I was kind of sad. I was like, this dude is sad for him. And like, he might be missing out on a historical opportunity to have a big that can, like, you know, Boogie can do everything. He can dribble, he can shoot threes, he can make passes. He's big, he rebounds. He don't depend on a bunch of athleticism. He's just a real skilled, agile big man. And people sometimes the way he plays, people don't. The dude is a legit 7 feet, so he's not like some undersized center. He's a grade A quality center. And then again, John Wall's going to get around and do what he wants. And then the supporting cast. The Rockets have a team of guys that are used to playing with James Harden, who was ball dominant, Russ, who in his own right was ball dominant, and then they just kind of waited for their moment. Having that same kind of team with James Harden, John Wall, and DeMarcus Cousins, and then just the other dudes are already cool with that. Like even the fact that you got a guy like Eric Gordon who's fine, you know, he can get 30 a night if he wanted, or if he was in that kind of system. But he's cool getting 11 sometimes, 28 another time. That is going to be a problem. Like that's going to be a problem, man. So if James Harden, like, you know, obviously we don't know what's going on behind the scenes or whatever, but if James Harden ends up playing with this team and they're cool to play with each other, they're going to be way better than the Wizards. Period. There's no comparison. And as much as I hate to say it, because I'm a Russ guy, I also still try to be realistic and honest. Like, there's no comparison.
I agree with you 1,000%, man. When I turned that game on, I was like, Chicago. I was like, man, this is going to be kind of dry. And then it was so funny because there's these clips that they played. You know how they talk about the game, what to expect before it actually comes on, because this is on NBA TV. I think they had like Sekou Smith or somebody talking about the game, and they showed Boogie warming up. And I actually sent one of my boys, Rave, a video because they showed Boogie warming up, and he clanked like 5 shots straight, man. And I was dying. I was like, oh man, this is crazy. I was like, Boogie out here gonna be looking crazy, because I was hyped when he went to the Warriors, and he just wasn't right yet. But man, soon as the game started, I said, oh, John Wall went straight to the cup, did a little Euro step, and just overpowered somebody. I said, oh, John Wall. looking
And Boogie
back.
started the game with a three, bro. Boogie,
Yeah.
that was the first shot he put up a three. Wow. I was like,
I
what is
said,
this?
oh, I said, Boogie not missing no more. So Boogie whap. John Wall to the cup, strong Euro step. And I said, oh. And then Daniel House and them dudes start hitting threes. I said, oh. I said, oh my goodness. And then Chicago couldn't get nothing going. And before you know it, dude, it was a blowout in like a couple seconds. So then I
Yeah.
started thinking just like you. I said, wait a second. If you got these two dudes out here, these horses, John Wall and Boogie playing like this, then you throw in James, then you throw in PJ Tucker just as an afterthought hustle dude, and then you throw in Eric Gordon who can have breakout games. I said, oh, this is getting scary. I almost said LeBron and them don't want to see this.
Seriously.
Yeah, I'm serious, bro. LeBron don't want to see this. If these dudes is healthy with James Harden, LeBron don't want to see that. He looking at he gonna be yelling at AD how he was yelling at Kevin Love and them.
Yep.
Yeah, it could get scary, man. I agree
Mhm.
with you. So looking at these moves, Tillman Fertitta, the new general manager, they kind of made this is looking good, man. I think they might have won this trade. Russ and Bradley Beal is gonna be cool, but overall, just mixing this team together, yeah, this could get scary real quick.
Yeah, and like that's even if you just think about the bench, the whole bench still of Houston for the most part is all wet. Gerald Green coming in, hopping on people screaming what is extra long high top braids. Like it's
Yeah,
gonna be
man.
it's gonna be a problem. So that's what I'm saying. Like so, we'll see what happens with James and all that. But if he ends up playing and like buys into another season with this team, the whole NBA is gonna it's gonna be a problem, bro.
But hold on a second. Okay, let's say James is not going to buy in because we don't think he is. The reports are still out there. I want to go to Miami. I want to go to Milwaukee. I want to go to the Sixers. Let's just say for a second, right, that they pull off a trade to the Sixers. And let's say they bring in, let's say, Ben Simmons and they throw in another player, maybe Josh Richardson or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
They are still scary. I think the one thing that'll be a little off-putting is that they won't have as much shooting because James right now, if John Wall is breaking down the defense, James Harden is getting open shots, he's knocking everything down. So I think that's the one kink in the armor. But even if they throw in Ben Simmons and another person that's a shooter from Philly, they're still scary.
Bro. I agree with you, and here's something to support your point, which I don't understand how no one in the media essentially has talked about this. What is everyone's issue with Ben Simmons? What does everyone always say his problem is?
He can't shoot.
Correct. That is not Ben Simmons' issue. There's been a lot of great players that didn't have a 3-point, a mid-range game that had other intangibles, as I say.
Yeah,
Ben
even Michael
Simmons,
Jordan wasn't a great 3-point shooter.
correct. He, his mid range was bottom, as you say, with as
Yeah.
Katie said.
Oh yeah.
But that is not. Yes, it would be great if Ben Simmons in today's NBA for what a player at his size and skill set could do if he had a jumper and was confident in it. But that is not the shortest distance of him being maybe a superstar in this league. This dude just needs some veteran. He needs some veteran. To me, it's mental, not the jump shot. To me, he doesn't play with like any
ferocity.
Correct. Put Ben Simmons with John Wall and Boogie Cousins on the court for a year. I guarantee he'll be a next player. Real talk.
Yeah,
He will
his
be a different
confidence.
player.
They'll hype him up. I think you're right. I think you're on to something, man. Because
that's the problem.
Who on Philly is giving him confidence? Like, hey, bro, you the man. You got this.
Him and Embiid have the same issue, and since Embiid seems like a more boisterous, bigger personality, Ben Simmons is like, man, whatever. I'm gonna just play. I'm put him on a team where he's got to be accountable by someone by two players that at one point at least some point in their career were arguably top 5 players in the NBA. Yeah. Maybe not John Wall, but Boogie for sure. Think about that. If you put Ben Simmons with those two dudes for a year, imagine what his leap will be the following year. So
they'll put the battery in his back, bro.
So I'm saying, so that's to me the issue with Philly. It's not they're trying. They brought in these young guys. They basically try to do similar to like what OKC did with Russ, James Harden, and KD. They got a bunch of really good young players early in their career, and they were like, "Oh, their upside is going to be great," but there was no battery in the back, essentially, if you, like you said, from a veteran player or from a player that in their own right was one of the best in the NBA at some point in time. Ben Simmons has never had that on his team, so yeah, put him with Boogie in a John Wall. Watch what happens. I'm calling it now. He's gonna be a monster in the NBA. Period. So anyway,
Can't argue with that. Thanks for watching Get the Chip on YouTube. For full episodes, visit our website, getthechip.com.